St. Petersburg, a city of riches and revolution. And at its heart, a museum with secrets dark and strange. Rasputin's real killer, the sex life of Catherine the Great, a disturbing cabinet of horrors, and punctured skin that reveals a long-forgotten story. Secrets hidden in plain sight inside the State Hermitage Museum. The Hermitage is one of the largest museums on Earth. Inside these walls are over 3 million treasures of art and archaeology. You can spend days wandering the halls and see only a fraction of the museum's magnificent collection. Far from the public galleries, in a secluded passageway, a locked door guards one of the museum's oldest treasures. It is not a Rembrandt or a Tsar's diamond-encrusted crown. These are human remains, with skin as black as night. In 1948, in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, 4 corpses were discovered within the permafrost. Sub-zero temperatures had preserved their bodies and their possessions. With skin blackened but still intact, they are natural mummies. Carbon dating revealed they are over 2,000 years old. Researchers determined they were men and women of an Iron Age tribe known as the Scythians. The Hermitage is closed today. The gallery's empty. Curator of Archaeology Svetlana Pankova will use this time for study, hoping to add to our limited knowledge.
Скифы, алтайские вот эти племена и европейские, конечно, они очень сильно один от другого отличались. И по языку, наверное, там были какие-то особенности. Другое дело, что образ жизни был похожий, кочевой, да, и какие-то верования, мифология тоже были похожи.
Though little is known about the Scythians, many Russians idolize them. In popular culture, they are portrayed as freedom-loving riders of the steppes. Some believe they were the first Russians, a pure race of noble warriors. Historical evidence suggests the real Scythians were savage fighters. They took trophies on the battlefield. But their burial mounds also suggest a more complex culture. A people with advanced tools and sacred objects of the finest gold. And then there is this strange object in a corner of the museum, believed to be the skin of a Scythian chieftain. He is covered with tattoos of wild animals and mystical symbols. When the Hermitage revealed these fantastic designs to the world, they caught the attention of Canadian medical illustrator Dave Mazursky.
I'd never seen anything like them before, and I was just so struck by how organic they were, how natural but abstract at the same time, and they just all made sense together. First time I saw the Scythian tattoos, I decided right away that that's what I wanted.
Dave has covered his body with the tattoos of the Scythian chieftain. He is missing only one, this illustration of leaping rams. Dave has come to St. Petersburg to get the final tattoo. But first, he plans to visit his inspiration.
And I knew that the body that these designs came from was here in the Hermitage. And it was kind of a dream that I would see them.
Dear David, now I'm going to show you the famous tattoo from the Pazaric burrows, how it really looks.
It's incredible. I've seen some very poor photographs of that, but it's incredibly vivid, much more lifelike than I would have imagined.
Does it resemble to your tattoo?
Would you like to see the rest of the tattoos?
Now, With great
Would you like
pleasure. Yeah. I'm eager to see it.
So I don't know if it lives up to what you've thought or what your research indicates about how they should look or how they should move.
I'm sure that when you move your shoulders, all the animals begin to move, begin to jump.
Beyond revealing the Scythians' artistic side, Svetlana hopes the tattoos can tell us more about their society.
Do you have any idea or theories about what they meant, or?
It could be something like a language. They had no writing in their societies, yeah? And so it was maybe the only way for them to transfer their traditions. Yeah.
They made them living stories.
Like most who feel drawn to the Scythians, Dave wishes he could know more about them. And it turns out the mummies may have more secrets to reveal. Recently, a Russian forensic expert suggested their black skin might look different under infrared light.
И очень удачно, что такая аппаратура была у нас в лаборатории научно-технической экспертизы. Мы сразу же сделали фотографии, и оказалось, что не только удалось...
Thank you for allowing me into this part of the museum to show me.
You're welcome.
It's impossible to see any tattoos here, but you have some technology that is now allowing you to see them. How does it work?
Yeah. The skin with tattoos absorbs the infrared rays. The clean skin without tattoos, it reflects rays. And we can see all that on our monitor. This mummy has tattoo on her right forearm, on her left forearm, and also on her left thumb, here.
They're so beautiful, so delicate, and impossible to see without that camera. What's interesting is these designs seem to be quite different in a way from the designs that I've copied from the other tattooed mummy. These are more organic, they kind of flow together in a different way, almost a different style.
The tattoo shows wild cats and their prey locked in a circle of life and death.
Таких композиций, в принципе, в пазырыкском искусстве неизвестно, и вообще в скифском искусстве таких нет. Но зато нечто подобное есть на территории Китая. Возможно, эта татуировка свидетельствует о том, что эта мумия имеет какое-то отношение к Китаю.
The design could have been borrowed from a Chinese traveler. But anthropological studies suggest that this Scythian woman was herself of Asian descent.
Племени. А женщина была из какого-то другого, более отдаленного, не знаю, может быть, из Средней Азии, может быть, из Восточного Туркестана.
Facial structure analysis has provided further evidence that the first Russians were not a pure race at all, but a multi-ethnic society. So in a way, it is fitting that a Canadian like Dave should have a complete set of Scythian tattoos. As a man with skills and enthusiasm, there is every reason to believe he would have been welcomed into the Scythian tribe. Up next, Peter the Great's favorite things. Today, the basement of the Hermitage is littered with shipping crates, filled with treasures destined for a special exhibition in America, featuring this statue of the man called Peter the Great. In St. Petersburg, the city that bears his name, Peter the Great still lives, especially in the hearts of the people.
Even so many years have passed since his death, I still feel myself like in the presence of the force of nature when I start thinking about Peter.
Timofey Kruglikov is a lecturer in Russian history.
On one hand side, it's a godlike person, a person who was able to do enormous work and had great plans, which nearly all of them he had fulfilled.
300 years ago, as Tsar of Russia, Peter the Great transformed a swampy fishing village into this monumental city of stone.
He didn't hesitate to sacrifice lives of quite many people for the sake of his great idea. St. Petersburg was built not on stones, but on bones of those who died during construction, and Peter didn't care.
According to the opinion of Russian peasants, Peter was the demon, the child of Antichrist, or even Antichrist himself.
So, is he Peter the Great or Peter the Monster? That's the museum's secret. We begin our investigation by looking at his true face.
Перед вами восковая персона Петра I, созданная скульптором Растрелли в 1725 году.
Sergei Nilov is the Hermitage curator for the Peter the Great collection.
Буквально на третий день после смерти императора Растрелли снял гипсовые слепки с кистей, ступней ног и головы Петра и сделал эту замечательную восковую персону.
There is a local legend that when the Hermitage closes for the night, Peter stands up from his chair and walks around the room.
Ведь, в принципе, если горят свечи, он сидит как живой. Лицо его действительно как будто шевелится, глаза горят. И вот ощущение живого человека, да, которое создает восковая персона, особенно на человека начала XVIII века, производило очень сильное впечатление.
Peter is now part of the Hermitage collection in what was once his palace. And perhaps that's appropriate, because he himself was an avid collector of things like this. These are only a few of the shocking specimens on display in the Kunstkamera, Peter's cabinet of curiosities. Such a collection suggests an unhealthy interest in cruelty. How did Peter the Great develop such a twisted taste for the bizarre? As a young man, he toured Europe. In Amsterdam, against the advice of his court, he traveled incognito. He haunted the canals and back streets of the city. He spent weeks in the dockyards, a shadowy figure observing the activities of sailors and shipwrights. He met with men who traded in dead bodies. What was he up to? Peter returned to a Russia stuck in the Middle Ages, with an obsolete military and poor subjects who relied on superstition to cure disease. But Peter came back with a plan for modernization, starting with Russia's navy.
St. Petersburg was to become the place where his navy program, big navy program, was to be developed.
Lionized in Russian movies as the hands-on Tsar, he shared the naval skills he had learned in Amsterdam.
And every day after Peter woke up, he rushed to shipyards here, where at least 1 hour he worked at the construction of the ship. Sometimes as a shipbuilder, as a carpenter, sometimes as an engineer.
He built advanced ships that were a match for those of naval superpowers like Holland and England. And then he turned to the problem of disease. He ordered his subjects to learn the new science of biology, as taught to him in Amsterdam by the great 17th century anatomist, Frederick Reusch. Perhaps Peter's greatest challenge was superstition. Many Russians believed that deformed babies were children of the devil. Peter was determined to show that such abnormalities were not to be feared.
Peter just wanted to show, to explain people, that these things only can be produced with nature. And everything has this or that explanation.
In this light, Peter's monstrous collection does not make him a monster. But that does not mean he was a good man. Not exactly. Mary Hamilton, a former mistress of Peter the Great, was sentenced to death for killing her newborn child. She expected Peter to grant her a pardon.
And Peter came to the place where execution was to take place, came up to Mary Hamilton and whispered something into her ear. Everyone thought that she would be released immediately. But Peter loudly said, "Excuse me, I cannot do anything, because you deserve death sentence according to the law." And the executor did his work. The head was off. Peter took the head, kissed it, turned it to people and explained them the anatomical structure of the neck.
That is vintage Peter. A good intention with a macabre twist. Not good exactly, but not entirely evil. We could call him Peter the Complex. But we suspect, in light of his incredible accomplishments, that history will let him keep the title of Peter the Great. Next on Museum Secrets, the sex life of Catherine the Great. Even without the art, the Hermitage would take one's breath away. And if it looks more like a palace than a museum, that's because it was a palace. The palace of Catherine the Great. Catherine came to power in a coup that took her husband's life. At a young age, she became absolute monarch of all Russia. Surrounded by nobles, advisors, ladies-in-waiting, and armies of servants, her days were full of pomp and circumstance. But Catherine found court life deadly dull. She complained that Russian nobles were bores and boors. She longed for smart conversation with modern European thinkers like Diderot and Voltaire. And she was hoping for more than intellectual stimulation. She was looking for love.
So we're standing in front of a portrait of Catherine the Great, one of the two emperors who was actually known as Great.
But to her people, Catherine needed to appear regal and strong. How could she meet and woo an intelligent, handsome man without causing a scandal? How could she rock her world without rocking her empire? That is Catherine the Great's museum secret. For starters, she built a little getaway spot next to her palace. Well, little by Catherine's standards. This is the private refuge she called the Petit Hermitage. In the sumptuous interior, she planned to hold invitation-only dinner parties with an exclusive guest list of Russia's and Europe's best and brightest.
She wanted to be here alone or with the closest people of her circle. Also, it was the place where she could enjoy the freedom of communication without taking into account your rank.
To prove she herself was modern, Catherine filled the walls with cutting-edge European masterpieces. These works became the foundation of the current Hermitage collection. But to really let loose, Catherine needed to solve one more problem. To hold a dinner party, she required servants to serve food and drink. But servants who saw their queen in adult situations would surely gossip and create a scandal. How could Catherine solve this difficult dilemma? These are the original plans of the Petit Hermitage, designed under Catherine's direction. It shows several shafts connecting a dining table on the upper floor with machinery below. In the Petit Hermitage today, the table and apparatus are both long gone. But at Catherine's summer palace, she built a second Hermitage where similar mechanisms are still intact. The tables in this posh dining room look perfectly normal, but they are not. Below the floor, the tables are attached to winches, allowing servants to move them up and down at will. As each table rises, the floor retracts automatically. The mechanics of the system were completely hidden from the guests who gathered upstairs in the Baroque splendor of the dining room. Each table would be set, but without food or drink. A guest would write their order on their place setting, then pull a string to alert the unseen servants below. Kitchen staff would read the plate and fill the order. Whatever Catherine's guests desired would ascend and appear. Service fit for a king, without a single servant in the room. After all were replete, a Another signal was relayed to the kitchen. Servants lowered the tables to return the floor to normal. These elevating tables worked on the same principle as the single grand dining table in the Petit Hermitage. After dinner, when the table magically disappeared, the real party could begin without fear of gossip or scandal.
Those parties, they could help people relax and just feel equal, feel that she is another human being. They allowed Catherine the Great to have a look at the future candidate to become a favorite of hers.
Catherine had many favorites. Count Gregory Orlov, Gregory Potemkin, Ivan Rimsky-Korsakov, Alexander Lanskar, Platon Zubov. Soldiers and statesmen, young and old, Catherine loved them all. Legend has it that each suitor was field tested by one of her ladies-in-waiting. The court doctor would ensure he was free of disease. Only then might he be allowed to enter the queen's inner chamber. Thanks to the ingenious mechanisms of the Petit Hermitage, Catherine could be a queen and a woman. But though she had many lovers, she never took another husband. She may have decided, who needs one? Next on Museum Secrets, Rasputin's real killer. The curators of the Hermitage are famous for the care they lavish on the museum's masterpieces. They love every work of art dearly. All except one that is not on public display. Galina Printseva of the Department of Russian Culture has no time for it.
Это отнюдь нелюбимый экспонат мною, и я не считаю, что это тот экспонат, который достоин внимания международных, так сказать, каких-то телевизионных компаний и международного даже зрителя.
Many Russians disdain this drawing because of the man it portrays. Can you guess his name? His likeness was drawn in 1914 by a lady-in-waiting to the Empress Alexandra. Not sure yet. He came from peasant stock, but was a major player in the Russian court. Still not sure? Look deep into his eyes. His name is Rasputin. Portrayed in movies like this one as the satanic mad monk, faith healer to the last of the Russian czars.
Under hypnosis, he can make her do whatever he wishes. He must be destroyed before he destroys us all.
Rasputin, whose dark powers were said to have kept him alive even after he was poisoned, was then shot by brave noblemen and drowned in an icy river. Almost everything we know about Rasputin's death comes from the memoir of a Russian noble named Felix Yusupov. Yusupov proudly admitted that he murdered Rasputin to break his evil hold over the Empress Alexandra. The assassination made him a national hero. But British author Andrew Cook doesn't buy it. With his help, we will reveal a shocking secret: the identity of Rasputin's real killer.
Here we are on the banks of the Fontanka Canal. Just over here, we have the Yusupov Palace, which of course is where the murder of Rasputin actually took place.
Today, Yusupov Palace is one of the top tourist attractions in St. Petersburg. The basement has been transformed into a macabre diorama.
This is the actual basement room where Rasputin was shot and murdered on the 16th of December 1916. Rasputin is about to tuck into the cakes and the Madeira wine, both heavily laced with potassium cyanide. But according to Yusupov's version, the potassium cyanide has absolutely no effect on him. It was then at this point, according to his own version, that he went upstairs, brought down a pistol and shot Rasputin in the heart. the mortally wounded Rasputin manages to crawl on all fours up the wooden staircase, through the door, and run across the courtyard.
Is there corroborating evidence for Yusupov's story? In police records dating back almost 100 years, Cook discovered photographs from Rasputin's official autopsy. Yusupov said he shot Rasputin right through the heart. But the autopsy reveals that one small caliber bullet passed through his stomach and another through his kidneys, neither an immediately fatal wound. And one photograph reveals something obvious that Yusupov failed to mention. A larger bullet hole in the middle of Rasputin's forehead.
It would have resulted in a massive exit wound to the back of the head, and that would have resulted in instant death. When you actually look at these and analyze them, you see very quickly that they totally and utterly contradict Yusupov's story. The real revelation in terms of the ballistics evidence is that there are 3 bullet wounds caused by 3 separate caliber weapons. And most interestingly of all, the final and fatal shot to the forehead, without doubt, was caused by an unjacketed lead round. And we can see an abraded mark around the entry wound. And when the entry wound is actually measured, it could only have been caused by a .455 weapon, which is a Webley revolver, which was only carried by British military officers during the First World War.
But what would a Brit have against Rasputin? In 1916, World War I was raging, with Germany fighting on 2 fronts, against the British and French to the west, and Russia to the east. As a former peasant, Rasputin was horrified by the deaths of millions of Russian peasant soldiers. He urged his empress to make peace with Germany, a peace that would mean a dark day for Britain.
What would have happened were that key German divisions on the Eastern Front would have been very quickly transferred to the Western Front. The balance of power then would have changed dramatically. There's a very keen awareness, I think, in London that this man is effectively the engine behind this drive to conclude an independent peace.
Every British subject had a motive to kill Rasputin. And after the fact, one British subject had a connection to the case. The first edition of Felix Yusupov's memoirs shows a collaborator, a man named Oswald Rayner.
I believe that his role in this book was more than actually translating it from Russian into English. My own view is that Rayner's motivation here was to create a cover story which in many ways has survived to the present day.
According to recently released documents, Rayner was a British Secret Service agent posted to St. Petersburg during World War I. He had motive, opportunity, and a British military handgun.
The Webley 455 was Oswald Rayner's, a British intelligence officer. We know that he was, by his own admission, at the scene of the murder.
Rayner could have watched the Russian nobles wound Rasputin with their small caliber pistols.
Neither of those guns could have caused that final and fatal wound. It could only have been the Webley that was literally in the hand of Oswald Rayner.
This evidence is, we admit, purely circumstantial. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. A secret memo, recently declassified, sent to British headquarters by Agent Rayner's superior officer. Our objective has clearly been achieved. Reaction to the demise of dark forces has been well received by all. Andrew Cook believes that, taken as a whole, the evidence speaks for itself. And as far as he's concerned, the case is closed. Up next, the secret of the disappearing cats. At the Hermitage, one finds experts in many disciplines, including this specialist in a time-honored form of pest control. Rats have lived here for centuries, keeping the museum vermin-free. They are fed and cared for by dedicated volunteers. But there was one brief period in Hermitage history when cats were nowhere to be found. The reason for that is a museum secret. The story begins on June 22nd, 1941, when St. Petersburg was known as Leningrad. German troops attacked the Soviet Union, and the country is plunged into the Second World War. Palaces outside the city are bombed to rubble. The city is set on fire. The Hermitage is marked for destruction. But the Hermitage refuses to go down without a fight, and a strategy is crafted to save the museum's masterpieces.
The most treasured pictures were brought to the ground floor of the new Hermitage building, which had especially strong walls. It was thought that it's better to bring them there.
Valentina Vakhmenyeva has been working at the Hermitage since 1949. She's a senior lecturer in the education department.
If it were paintings, they were put into crates, which were divided with planks. There was a special cloth which made it soft, and each picture had a special place, because the most important was to make everything safe and well fixed during the transporting.
In just 6 days, curators crated 500,000 treasures. They packed them into special trains for transport to safety in the Ural Mountains. It was a time of frantic work and high emotion.
The Hermitage worker looks at every piece which he is responsible for as his child. Voltaire went down the main staircase of the new Hermitage. Just as we can see him, he smiled, and people ran to the upper landing, just all in tears, to say goodbye.
But even after the biggest art evacuation in history, there were still hundreds of masterpieces left in the Hermitage. Irritated by Leningrad's resistance, Hitler ordered his forces to encircle the city and erase it from the map.
Холодно было, не было отопления.
Evgeny Yuknalev is a siege survivor and a retired Hermitage architect.
Не было воды. Вот это самое главное. Это значит, выносилось. За водой ходили на Неву, на Фонтанку, на Мойку, вот на все эти наши речки.
The defenders of Leningrad didn't leave their posts, and neither did the Hermitage staff. They moved into the basement, and the Hermitage cats had new roommates.
Altogether, they had 12 shelters, large and small, and about 2,000 people were in these shelters. Yes. Please, come in. We are entering the air raid shelter number 3. You must understand that no electric light was in this room. They had to furnish it just when the war began. There were chairs, some tables, beds made of wood.
Architect Alexander Nikolsky took out his sketchbook to record daily life during wartime. These sketches are now part of the museum's permanent collection. As the siege dragged on, curators continued their work, caring for each artifact that remained. Every window was blown out by bombs and shells. The ornate interiors were ravaged by exposure to the elements. Museum air wardens cleared away heaps of broken bricks and charred flooring after each bomb struck home. Every day, spotters made the long climb to the roof to look for fires ignited by incendiary bombs. Sentry boxes still stand where gunners waited for Nazi paratroopers to touch down in the courtyard. Leningrad was entirely besieged. Hopelessness took hold. Hunger drove some defenders to acts of desperation. Horses, dogs, and rats were slaughtered for food. Even children were at risk.
А во-вторых, была очень большая опасность, которые охотились, так сказать, искали детей, сманивали их на что-нибудь. Вот. Это было. Или, во всяком случае, да, это было, и люди опасались.
At the Hermitage, the beloved cats disappeared one by one. After almost 900 days of hell, the Nazis were beaten back. The blockade was broken, the city set free. In the bloody siege, over 500,000 Russians had lost their lives. Leningrad was saved because her citizens were willing to die for their city. The Hermitage was saved because her defenders were willing to die for art. After the war, the Hermitage veterans were determined to restore the museum to its former glory. Today, the great works are back. And so are the cats, happily roaming the courtyards and underground passageways. They were reintroduced after the war to repel an invasion of rats and mice. The priceless treasures saved during the siege are off limits to the cats. But aside from that, they have the run of the place. Next on Museum Secrets, how a black square threatened the Soviet Empire. The Hermitage is filled with finely crafted objets d'art. Visitors come to marvel at complex mechanical wonders. They are entranced by the lifelike portraits by the old masters. And then there's this. No, it isn't an empty frame left over from the siege of Leningrad. No one has ripped out the canvas to leave a blank space behind. It's a perfect square painted flat black by Russian artist Kazimir Malevich. So why is it hanging with the masters?
The black square is so shocking sitting in the Hermitage amongst the Rembrandts and the Rubens and the Van Dycks.
Russell Smith is a writer and culture commentator.
It's a simple, dumb black square. What is it doing among them? Well, it's just as influential a painting as any of those. The black square influenced generations of artists working in reducing the forms of painting to their bare minimums, their bare essentials. The people who were influenced by these movements in Russian art include some of the greatest art of the 20th century. This is one of the most revolutionary paintings ever painted.
Revolutionary it may be, but you may be surprised to learn that in 2002, the Hermitage acquired the black square for $1 million.
That's what this kind of thing that you think your 2-year-old could do is worth today.
Why is a black square worth $1 million? To reveal this museum secret, we must return to the blackest period of Russian history. Not long after the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, communist ideals were twisted into tyranny by Joseph Stalin.
When Stalin came to power, he decided that representational Soviet socialist realist art was going to be the official art of the Soviet people, and that was art that showed pictures of workers and peasants and soldiers working together in a very romantic way.
Stalin decreed art must be immediately understandable. It must not encourage productive workers to think. And Malevich's paintings made you think. Stalin hated all of Malevich's work, but he hated the black square most of all.
The black square is an idea, and Stalin hated ideas.
Stalin hated anything that he couldn't control.
Life became difficult for Malevich.
Malevich was out of favor. He was pushed out of all of his influential positions in institutions where he worked and taught. And he was told that he could no longer paint abstract, geometric paintings. They were bourgeois.
By Stalin's order, Malevich was detained here, along with others who harbored counter-revolutionary tendencies. Branded an enemy of the state, he was fingerprinted and locked up without trial in the notorious Kresty prison. Here, under Stalin's orders, political prisoners were subjected to solitary confinement and sleep deprivation to aid with their re-education. We don't know what Stalin's goons did to Malevich, but after he was released from detention, he began painting in a more politically correct style. It appeared as if Stalin had won him over.
He started doing shapes that looked like peasants and horses, but they were very cubist and they were made with primary colors. And even in one of his last portraits of himself, a self-portrait from 1933, which is a very lifelike portrait, it's signed with a little black square in the corner. The black square represented who he was.
Malevich's original black square was hidden in a potato crate, where it survived until the post-communist era. Or at least, that's the story his family told when they offered it for sale in 1991. About the same time, several other black squares surfaced. Art experts couldn't tell which, if any, was genuine. But then on the Malevich family's painting, someone noticed fingerprints. In the 1930s, Stalin had decreed that criminals' fingerprints should remain on file forever. Malevich's fingerprints were retrieved and matched to this painting. Thanks to Joseph Stalin, we know it's the real thing. Which leads us back to our original question. Why is this black square worth $1 million? The answer, it turns out, is very simple. Because these men are willing to pay it. They are the rich entrepreneurs of the new Russia. They value personal freedom and hate Joseph Stalin. To them, Malevich was a kind of artistic freedom fighter. So when one of them heard that the black square was for sale, they jumped at the chance to buy it.
It's only very recently that Russian officials would have taken seriously something like this. They're lucky that they have started to take it seriously. They didn't think it was worth anything. But a similar geometric abstract painting by Malevich was sold in New York at auction at Sotheby's in 2008 for $60 million US.
When you look at it that way, a cool million is quite a bargain. In this vast museum that has witnessed the history of a nation, for every mystery we reveal, far more must remain unspoken. Secrets that lift the human spirit, and those that haunt our darkest dreams. Hidden in plain sight, inside the State Hermitage Museum.